Okay, so there's been a lot of question and concern in San Diego about what is hydrogen sulfide. And I am going to kind of do a little walkthrough on one of the health and safety sheets about hydrogen sulfide. And I want you to know two things. So, well, three, let's say. This comes from the New Jersey Department of Health. You can find these with OSHA, with many different states also have them. The reason why is because if you are a contractor, a building contractor, like you work in heating, ventilation, air conditioning, plumbing, electricians, anybody that might end up in a small and confined space, this it can be very serious and even cause death for a contractor when they're working because they're not having any free flow ventilation of hydrogen sulfide. That's why they have these for contractors. The same thing happens wherever the hydrogen sulfide is. It's just that it's more contained. So, say you're working in a plumbing closet, that's going to be a lot different and worse exposure than somebody who has a spill out in a field like we do here in San Diego. I hope that makes sense. Also, I will say if anyone has the patience and the crayons, it would be great if they could go through this with Nora Vargas and help her figure out whether or not this hazardous substance is a health hazard because it is. So one of the things that you might also hear it called, synonyms mean, something else you might hear it called would be sewer gas. It is colorless gas. It has an odor of rotten eggs. It's usually shipped as a liquid, meaning it's one of those things that can be a liquid, a solid, or a gas, depending on the amount of pressure, depending on the heat, etc. It's used here, it tells you it's a chemical used in making heavy water, used lubricants for cutting oils, etc. So we're not going to go through every single thing. Here is something interesting though, a reason for citation. So air quality people have a reason for citation when it comes to this. Hydrogen sulfide is known on the right to know hazard substance list because it's cited by OSHA, etc. And it is on the special health hazard substance list because it can affect you when breathed in and may pass through your skin. It can irritate the eyes on contact. Long-term exposure to low levels can cause pain and redness of the eyes and blurred vision. Contact with the liquid may cause frostbite because in the liquid form, obviously it's very cold, right? Exposure can irritate the nose and the throat. It can irritate the lungs. Higher exposures may cause a buildup of fluid in the lungs, which is pulmonary edema, which is a medical emergency. Exposure can cause nausea, dizziness, confusion, headache, trouble sleeping, and very high levels can cause unconsciousness and even death. As a gas, it is highly flammable. It is a dangerous fire hazard. What do you do if you come into contact with it? Eye contact. Flush with large amounts of water for at least 15 minutes, lifting both your upper and lower lid. Remove your contact lenses if worn, and seek medical attention. What if it comes in contact with your skin? Immerse that part of your body, that skin, in warm water. Seek medical attention. If you're inhaling it, remove the person from the exposure. Begin rescue breathing if breathing has stopped, and CPR if heart action has stopped. Transfer promptly to a medical facility. Medical observation is recommended for 24 to 48 hours after exposure because that's when the buildup of the fluid in the lungs may be delayed. Okay, workplace exposure limits. This tells you not to be exceeded during any 10-minute work period. If it's 50 parts per million, it breaks it all down, right? Because again, this is a working document for people inside. Determining your exposure, kind of go through what is the medical testing. For frequent or potentially high exposure, the following are recommended before beginning work and at regular times after that. Lung function testing. If the symptoms develop or overexposure is suspected, the following is recommended. Consider chest x-rays after acute overexposure. Can you see now why the research scientists whose job it is to be out actually near this and testing and seeing how much there is, were like, okay, great, we're going to follow the health and safety hazard information that we know because we're educated. They know this information, right? So they know they need protective gear. They know they need respirators because that is a standard to just protect themselves. Again, what are the health hazard information, acute health effects from short-term health? Can irritate your eyes, can irritate the nose and throat, can irritate the lungs, can cause coughing or shortness of breath. Higher exposure can cause a buildup of fluid in the lungs. Again, remember that's that pulmonary edema. It can create a medical emergency with severe shortness of breath. It can cause nausea, dizziness, confusion, headache, trouble sleeping. Very high levels can cause unconsciousness and even death. Now, again, we're talking about here for this sheet, we're talking about what if you're that plumber working in um, the basement, right? And you're being exposed to it, which is different than if you're being exposed in a place where you have open air like the Tijuana River Valley. However, you still have inhaling this can create irritation in your lungs, your coughing, your shortness of breath, even out there in the Tijuana River Valley. And remember, what did all of these things say? Seek medical attention. Okay, get out of the space. Workplace controls and practices. What is the safety equipment? What does that look like? There are specific gloves to be used. And the reason for that is because you don't want the gas or the liquid to be able to get through the glove to touch the skin. Remember, if it's in the liquid form, then that could cause frostbite. Eye protection. You need to wear non-vented, impact-resistant goggles when you're working with the fumes, gases, or vapors. That's this right here. If additional protection is needed for the entire face, you need to use it in combination with a face shield, because a face shield should not be used without another type of eye protection. They have specific respiratory protection for the respirators, right? And you should have the proper training and proper fit, because if you can smell it or taste it, here it's even right here, while wearing the filter or cartridge respirator, and you can smell, taste, or otherwise detect it while wearing the filters, you need to, your seal's not good. You need to get out of the space because you're not safe. What about all of our Border Patrol folks that are out there walking around in this? Do they have the correct personal protective equipment? Do they have the correct respirators? I can tell you no, they don't, because I personally have seen them walking from the river mouth back like towards the farms when they're looking for somebody that is coming ashore, and they're just in their normal gear that you'd see them walking around 7-Eleven in. Protective gear made from a material which cannot be permeated or degraded by the substance. These are, very specific things. What do you do if there's a spill and an emergency? The OSHA hazardous waste standard. You need to evacuate people, avoid ignition sources because it's highly flammable, right? Stop the flow of gas if possible. It may be necessary to contain and dispose of hydrogen sulfide as a hazardous waste. Contact your Department of Environmental Protection or your regional office of the EPA for specific recommendations. So cleaning this up, hazardous waste. Hazardous waste means you have a health emergency. So there's just a little bit of information about it. Here again, what is the protective equipment specific to coveralls? What does the respirator need to be? What are the health effects? Irritation to the eyes. If you come in contact with the liquid, which is different than what we have out there, right? Inhalation, nose, throat, and lung irritation with coughing and severe shortness of breath. pulmonary edema, remember that's that fluid buildup in the lungs, nausea, dizziness, headache, unconsciousness, and even death. Seek medical attention. Seek medical attention. Begin CPR and artificial respiration if the breathing has and the heart have stopped. Medical facility. All of these things say that if you're coming in contact with breathing hydrogen sulfide, it is going to create a medical emergency. So there you go. I'm going to do more of these this weekend about some of the other things that we have out there that we know are out there so people can get an idea of what is in the toxic soup.